Alright guys, welcome back to another video on this channel. I believe that makes it 8 days in a row that I have uploaded, so if you are enjoying, be sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. But today, as you can tell by the title, we are doing one position where each Premier League team needs to strengthen. So, it can be anywhere on the pitch, but one specific position that a team should strengthen in. I'm not going to offer any options really here, because obviously it depends on people's budgets, and realistically, I don't know who the likes of Burnley and Brentford really need and who they'll be looking at realistically. But let's get straight into it with Arsenal. And Arsenal had a very difficult season last season, didn't they? And they struggled quite a lot defensively. And that's where we are starting with Arsenal. We are starting at centre-half. I think Arsenal need a new centre-back. They've had very, very few good centre-backs in recent years. And, well, signing a washed-up David Luiz kind of summed up that really. They've had Socrates, who hasn't been very good. They've had Mustafi, who hasn't been very good, and they need a new centre-back. They need someone to really bring some authority, and maybe someone with a bit more experience to help Gabriel, who looks like a decent talent at this current moment in time, develop into a better player. Aston Villa next, and we have a right winger. I know they've just signed Emi Buendia, but I'm personally thinking maybe that could be in case if Jack Grealish has a good summer. Potentially, but we don't know at this current moment in time. But Emi Buendia looks like a good sub, but I can see him more playing inside. And right wing, I think they need a bit more consistency. El Ghazi and Bertrand Traore usually play out on that side, and obviously you've got Grealish on the left, but they don't really have any star talent on that right hand side. And with a good right winger, I think Aston Villa could really threaten, and I think they could be up there in sort of 8th, 9th place if they get that signing. We'll move on to Brighton, and we will do the newly promoted sides right at the end, as they're a different category realistically. But the one thing I would say that Brighton maybe need is a new left wing back. We have seen Dan Burn play quite frequently out on that left hand side, and he has been good to be fair, but I just think they need someone who's a little bit more dynamic in that left wing back role if they are going to continue playing with 3 at the back and wing backs. Ben White is obviously gone to the Euros with England. You've got Lewis Dunk, who are two, a good centre back partnership. Tyreek Lamptey, when he comes back, will be good on that right hand side, but I just think left hand side, get a bit of more creativity and maybe a bit better defensively as well, and they can really start to put some good balls in. The other one is a striker. They definitely need a striker. If you look at their XG, it has been mental this year. They should have scored a lot more goals. More pay, whoever has done a lot better, but they need another striker as well. Moving on to Burnley, we are going to say that they need a new right back. Matthew Lowton's been good in recent years, but they just need someone with a bit more star quality, a bit more defensive solidity and the ability to go forward, and they could turn into a real force. I think Burnley might need a bit of a revamp entirely this summer after a poor season last season. Next up is Chelsea. Chelsea need another centre-back. They need a young centre-back. Obviously, we've got Thiago Silva and Azpilicueta, who are two good players, but they are getting a little bit older. Thiago Silva signing that new 1-year contract because probably looking to retire, and Chelsea don't want to commit too much. But we've got Zuma, we've got Rudiger, we've got Christensen, Azpilicueta. We've got lots of options, but I just think we need a young centre-back, and if Malang Sarr isn't going to come back from Porto to Chelsea, then we definitely do, especially with Tomori leaving. Alright everyone, just realised, just editing this video right here, just got to Everton, realised I missed out Crystal Palace. Apologies Crystal Palace fans, I have missed you out, I am very sorry. But I was going to say, Crystal Palace need a new striker. Christian Benteke has been better last season. Jordan Ayew hasn't been great last season. Season before he was much better. But that is who I was going to say is a new striker. And obviously, maybe some money from Wilfried Zaha might be helpful for you. But anyway, back with the video and enjoy. And if you are new, smash that like button, hit subscribe. Cheers. Everton, this one was kind of, it's changed, it's not changed. It depends on who they can get in as a manager, because realistically, they've got Moise Kean, who might be able to play through the middle, which would then stop them needing a new left winger, and that is my option for them. If Moise Kean comes back, then they could play Richarlison at left midfield. But with the intentions that PSG are going to buy Moise Kean on a permanent basis, then I would say they need a new left winger, someone out on that left-hand side. They've had Bernard on that left-hand side, and they've had a couple of others, and it's not really worked. If they can keep James Rodriguez and Decore and Allen, and then have a good player on that left-hand side to go up front with Richarlison, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and then the mystery third person, it could be a really, really solid team. Next up for Leeds, I think they need a central midfielder just to add a bit of depth really. I can't really criticise this Leeds team off the back of a good season. Obviously if they lose Rafinha, they'll need a new right-hand sided player, but I just think they need a bit more depth in their squad if they want to push higher up in this league. Leicester City is another hard one. They've played 3 at the back, they've played 4 at the back, they've played whatever suits the players that they've got. I think they need a new right midfielder though, or a right winger. Ayuzi Perez hasn't been great since he joined the Foxes, and Mark Albrighton is the wrong side of 30 now, isn't he? So I think they need a new right midfielder. It's a shame that they let Damari Gray go, because I think he could mould into a really, really good player at some point, hopefully, for an English perspective, hopefully. But that is my pick. I think they need a new right midfielder. Liverpool. Where do we start? Well, Liverpool. We're loving it like this. Where do we start with Liverpool? That's a difficult one, isn't it? It's a really difficult one, Liverpool. I mean, they've just signed Konate, so I was going to go centre-back, but what I think they need is a striker. Divock Origi, rumoured to be leaving Liverpool imminently, and Firmino's form not being great means they probably need someone else who's going to be a striker. I don't think it'll be an out-and-out striker, because Jurgen Klopp likes to have his goal-scoring wingers in Salah and Mane and Diego Jota. So it'd have to be someone who is a bit more creative, maybe an attacking midfielder or someone who plays more of as a false 9, but they need a new number 9. Manchester City, absolutely obvious this one. They need a new striker. Harry Kane's in the firing line for it. They look like they're going to get him. If they do, oh my God, that's going to be dangerous. Another player they're looking at, Erling Haaland. Again, ridiculous it would be. Whether he'd go to Man City, I mean, he probably would, wouldn't he? He probably would, knowing that his dad's history with Manchester City. But if he comes to England, I'd love it. He's a bit of a psycho, but I'd love it. Manchester United, a very, very good Manchester United attack, realistically. Maybe they could do with another striker, but with Edison Cavani signing on for another year, don't think that'll work very well, especially if they want to get a new young striker in. It'll stunt the growth of Mason Greenwood, and it'll stunt the growth of a young striker. Martial's not been great. Maybe it's time that Martial moves on, moves somewhere else, gives himself a different challenge, find that form again, which we know he can possess. But I am actually going to go with a centre-half. I think Lindelof and Bailly and Maguire, they're good centre-halves, but they don't really have a marquee centre-half. And one that is really going to hit home, like a Van Dijk, like a Thiago Silva, one that is, he's in the team and you're like, oh, I feel a lot more settled. Maguire's been that player at the minute, but if they get someone else, that United team will be very, very strong. Newcastle need a new right back. I don't really rate Manquillo or Kraft. They're good players, but I think they're more championship players, and Newcastle are looking like a side that could be really, really dangerous with St. Maximan. If they can get Willock back as well, Willock, Callum Wilson, Joelinton's starting to find a little bit of form, and I think if they want to push on, they're going to have to strengthen in defence, and right back is definitely a position where I think they need a more consistent performer, one who's maybe a little bit better going forward, and defensively sound as well. Who they'd get, I don't know. That's not my job. I'm just telling you where they need a new player. Southampton, I'm going to say Southampton need a new winger. Whether it's a left winger or a right winger, I do not care, but they need more talent. They've got Theo Walcott, they've got Stuart Armstrong, they did have Minamino as well, but they will need someone else in those wide places just to make them a bit more competitive. I don't think they'll get a new striker. Depends if Danny Ings can stay fit. Then a backup striker to the likes of him and Che Adams is very vital. But who's going to want to play third fiddle? That's the question. I think a new winger could come in, really put a lot of emphasis in that midfield, get a lot of legs going. You're not going to replace James Ward-Prowse in that midfield. You need someone to play a ball in behind who's going to be consistently there and is going to be a bit tricky and will be able to get past defenders, and I think Southampton will be able to solidify. Generally, I think they've got a decent team, they're just lacking a little bit of form at this current moment in time. Tottenham Hotspur. Where do we begin with then? It depends if Harry Kane goes. Like I said earlier, if Harry Kane goes, they need a new striker. That is plain and simple. That Vinicius, who decided to do a Mbappe celebration against a non-league team, is not very good, which is the most Tottenham thing ever to do that, by the way. But I think they need a new centre-half. Alderweireld is getting towards 30 now. I know that sounds harsh. He's been a very good servant to Spurs, but I don't think Eric Dyer and Sanchez have been up to scratch in recent years. And I think they need a new centre-half that would just shape up this team very nicely. Reguilon looks good. Aurier looks good at times as well. So defensively, definitely go for another centre-half. West Ham United, I think, need another striker. West Ham have had a really, really good season this season, but a lot of the goals in towards the end of the season have come from Jesse Lingard, with him probably unlikely to go back to West Ham for the second part of the season, and needing to, have that proper European experience. Having a backup centre forward will definitely help West Ham United, and they need a clinical goal scorer with Souček and Jesse Lingard as two of the top goal scorers. Who Souček's obviously a defensive midfielder. Jesse Lingard potentially won't be there. They need someone who's going to get the goals for them, otherwise they'll slump down the table again. But striker, absolutely. Tammy Abraham, you like it in London, don't you, mate? You like it in London. 17th, we have Wolves, and Wolves is a difficult one. It depends on what Jimenez's form is when he comes back. I am going to say striker, because whether Jimenez will be the same, obviously he has to wear a helmet and stuff like that now as well, which might impact him. I don't know. But I'm going to go with a striker. Fabio Silva's not been great. I think they need to get him a bit more first team game time. Maybe send him out on loan. Get a good backup striker who is going to cause a few problems and going to be able to maybe play in a few different positions. If he can play out on the left when Pedro Neto or Daniel Podence gets injured, or on the right when Adama gets injured, it might help them a little bit more. But they do need a keen eye for goal when Jimenez isn't there. And that's why I've gone for that one. Moving on to the newly promoted sides, and obviously this is a hard one for me. I've watched very, very little Championship football, but I did watch the playoffs actually, which were good fun. Brentford, we'll talk about Brentford. They don't need a new striker. Tony's been insane this season, absolutely insane. So I think I'm going to go just with a sort of a flair player, a more creative player. I was thinking like someone like Matheus Pereira, but I do believe he's going to Norwich. So I'm going to say a flair player, maybe a wide player. It maybe doesn't suit their formation, which they tend to play with a 3 at the back or a 5 at the back, whatever you want to say, as much. But I think they need someone who's going to be a bit more creative in behind Ivan Toney, especially in the Premier League, just to open up a few defences. We know Ivan Toney knows where the goal is, and that is why I think they need someone to create a few chances for Toney. Obviously, all of Toney's goals last season in the Championship were inside the box, which does mean that they are going to need someone who's able to find a keen eye, laser vision, and tuck one straight through into the feet of Ivan Toney. Norwich again is a very difficult one. I'm saying this about literally every team because I'm not a manager and I don't know where teams need to be improved. But if I was to say it, I would say goalkeeper. I think goalkeeper is one of the most important areas of a team. One of the most important. It is the most important area of a team. We've seen that with Alisson coming into Liverpool, Kepa moving out of Chelsea more, and having Mendy come in. We've seen that a keeper can make or break a game. And for a team like Norwich, which is a bit of a yo-yo club at the minute, with a positive signing of Matheus Pereira potentially on the cards, a goalkeeper would definitely help strengthen this team and really help them go, a long way. If they can get someone who's going to be consistent, a good shot stopper, maybe like an Aaron Ramsdale, someone of that quality who we know is going to do a decent job, then it could really, really help bolster this Norwich team and progress them further up the table, because that's what they want, isn't it? Watford, I'm going to go with the striker. I did look at their goal scorers from last season, and the one thing that stuck out at me was the fact that Andre Gray and Troy Deeney were their second and third top goal scorer with like 8 and 6 goals or something like that, which isn't good enough. Obviously, Troy Deeney is a legend of Watford Football Club. Whether he'll go is a different thing. Whether he'll retire is a different thing. There was rumours about that, and obviously Deeney waved them away. But I think they need a new striker, because you cannot be reliant on a winger in this division. West Brom last season were very reliant on Matheus Pereira to create and score goals, and they've ended up getting relegated. And they need someone with a keen eye who can really pounce and really make the most of it. Well, that is the end of this video. That has been a little bit different. I hope it's not been too boring. That's the main thing, isn't it? Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. And if you have enjoyed, why not drop a like and consider subscribing as well. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers!